So let's create a projectile enemy. Now, one thing that we have to do is actually create a new animation. I'm going to use the same guy, the first tag that is. And okay, we do have an attack. I'm going to use a couple of frames of this and just pretend it's a throw animation, because why not? Then I'm going to go create a new clip. Let's use tag 1. Let's just say throw or just throw. Because that tag 1, then or my layer 1. Let's find where this guy is. Okay, I want the attack, and let's just pick the first frame, second frame, third frame. Yeah, and let's just use, I don't know, maybe something like this. You probably should have the hand open. So yeah, let's pretend that this is the normal attack or whatever. So let's open all of this until here, so it looks like so. Maybe lower this, and let's give it double time, and let's make a return as well, just so it looks. So on the throw frame, so here we're going to add an animation event. We already have a few events, but let's make it a bit more dynamic. So on our AI controller, let's just say we have, yeah, we do have the animator hook, which means we can actually just go over here and add it as well. So let's use events. And now there's two ways we can do this. We can either make a public Unity event and just do any event we want, or we can simply let's see, we are going to have, yeah, okay, you know what, let's just bring the events and let's keep it here, and we can just call trigger event, and we're going to say which index my events actually I dot invoke. Let's do this, but if I is over my events dot length -1, then return. Okay, so we can call this to use any Unity event we want, which is going to be really nice. But since we already need to know, we need to be spawning things, we could just say spawn object string ID. Then I'm actually going to call to use this as a method, so I can actually use it on my unit controller right away. So let's do public void spawn object string ID. So on the animator hook, it's only going to be doing a pass through, which means owner spawn object ID. Now to do move this, or to do implement an object puller. We have made an object puller, I think, like 500 times before, so I'm not going to bother doing one right now. If you have an object puller, then by all means go use it, add it and use that. But for me, because I'm bored, I'm just going to do resources.load ID as game object, then game object instantiate prefab. Now, the question is, where do we spawn this? Most likely, we will always be spawning this on the same position as ourselves. So, transform.position, then transform.rotation will actually be holder.rotation, because the holder is what actually rotates around. Okay, so now if it's a projectile, it will actually have some logic to it. So let's see now. Okay. Okay, let's try this. Let's create a projectile. And actually first we need to add the event, the actual event. We have our throw, and then we can say spawn object, let's just say projectile 1. Okay, that will be the ID. On the animator, we're going to have to make this go back to locomotion state with 1 and 0. Okay, then now let's go and create the projectile. So let's call this projectile 1. And we're going to add some logic later, but let's add just a sprite right now to see that everything is working. Yeah, okay, what should we add as here? I have no idea what should we add. Let's just, maybe let's say we're going to spawn a box. I don't know why, but let's say we want. Let's put this on the default layer. Okay, this will be at 1, or our camera should be at -10. So we can always render them. Okay, so I'm going to scale this down a bit. You should never be scaling pixel art, by the way. I'm just doing it to showcase, right? So projectile will spawn on the same position as the enemy, which means if we copy the component from here and paste it over here, you'll see that it will spawn over there. So that means we need to move the sprite a bit higher up, and we also need a dynamic sort order, so we can set this up, and origin can be your own transform. Okay, the other thing I want to do is actually nothing. Projectile, okay, let's see. Yeah, this will actually spawn the projectile, even though it's not going to be moving, he is going to be spawning it. So let's drop this into a resources folder, create folder, resources, drop that projectile and close it. Then let's go on our attack character and let's create some new AI sublogic. Get attack when close. So I'm just going to copy this and just make it AI sub attack after time, or attack time. Let's just call it attack time. Doesn't matter. AI sublogic, and expand this, implement the abstract class. Okay, so we're going to have a timer. Now, one thing that it's not, yeah, okay, let's do timer, and let's do public float attack rate, and we also need the action, data action. So delta, okay, well, actually we don't need the action, we'll need the animation. So string target animation, we only need this one. So if timer over 0, return timer always minus delta, and timer attack rate, let's say attack rate every 2 seconds, and timer, let's start with 2 seconds as well, so that it doesn't attack right away. And then H unit controller animator hook play animation target animation. Okay, so let's say create asset menu, AI sub logic, attack over time. This needs to be menu name equals of that. Okay, so that's one way to do this. Let's copy this, let's put it here as well. Get target position and attack when close, attack when close. Awesome, close that. So let's go to sublogics, create sublogic attack over time. So now on my target animation, I can actually just say throw instead of the action. If I wanted to do an attack, I could just load the attack you have on, yeah, we could add the same thing as when attacking close. Okay, now one thing we have to do, however, because we are using the timer inside the sublogic, where is it? Attack time. We're going to have to instance every sublogic now. Okay, which is not really a big deal, but let's say public bool. Let's actually say on the AI sublogic, public bool instance sublogic. Okay, then on the init of our AI logic now, say AI logic, on the init, actually of the init of the sublogic containers. So for each item in sublogics, if item dot instance sublogic, then item, actually let's do a for loop, it's easier to understand. If sublogics I dot instance sublogics I equals instantiate sublogics I. So we can use the timer in multiple players, in multiple units that use the same object. And just for good measure, I'm saying no, do not serialize the timer. Okay, so let's go here. I'm just going to tick instance logic, and then this guy, let's find him. Enemy actions. No, that's the container. Mirror player. Instead of attack when close, let's say attack over time. Okay, stay on the edge will be, let's do -2 and 0 from the center. We don't need to instance this. And get close to pair. Okay, attack over time, attack rate every 2 seconds. It will play a throw animation. The throw animation has an event that will load a projectile. So he should be trying to stay on the edge of this. And yeah, as you can see, he's basically throwing, spawning a projectile, which of course they don't move. So let's say attack rate every 6 seconds. We can of course randomize this. And let's create a new script that will handle the projectile. Projectile. So, namespace, say vector3, actually public vector3 direction, and then void update. Now, for the projectile, all we have to do is add onto our position, I think on the right. So let's just say move forward, or let's just say public float speed. I'm going to say 3. Let's just do transform.position, transform.right by time.delta time by speed. Something like that. Okay, let's close that. And let's see now. Yeah, we have to add this on the prefab. Projectile. Let's change a little bit our dynamic sort order. So we can do also an offset, public float y offset. So let's say float y position dot y plus y offset, then y multiplied by 100 plus 10. Okay, so now I can go in and say from my origin do minus 1. Okay, so speed by 3. Let's see, he's probably going to spawn. Yeah, okay, 3 is way too fast, of course, but you get the idea. So every 6 seconds is going to be spawning a projectile. So the projectile now, let's maybe make it to 1. Okay, so projectile, I think let's do offset like this. So it should go below. Okay, minus 0.1 is better. Okay, so what do we need for the projectile to actually be a projectile then? Open this up and let's go over here. Let's add something that we're going to call a shadow, just so that we know where it's actually landing on. And let's make this on shadow layer. If you don't have the shadow layer, just create one. It should be below the default. And I'm going to make this at 0. So technically this will be the center, like so. Something like that. Maybe move it a little bit upwards. Okay. Now, let's see, let's maybe close that. Then we can create now a hitbox. And let's add the box collider 2D. I think we need to click that, and we need to tailor this a bit more, like so. And let's add the damage collider. Now, damage collider is actually looking for an owner. So let's do public bool is projectile. So if it's not the projectile, then that means it's on a player. So just go do that. Okay, then on trigger render, okay, when there is, I'm actually going to be looking for a hurtbox first. Do we have a hurtbox? We don't have a hurtbox, I think. Let's see. Let's take a look on this. Oh, we just take the, yeah, okay, we just take the layer. Okay, we'll see. So if the user is not the owner, an owner doesn't have a last action. Okay, so here's where we can basically break this apart. If user, if is projectile, let's do something else. Let's do this. Now the owner, we have to be assigning public void assign owner. Like so. Assign owner unit controller O, then owner equals O. Okay, so we have to assign the owner. Okay, then go here, and if it's a projectile, actually we don't need any of this right now because we do have our owner. Okay, so on my unit controller where I spawn an object, I can look for a damage collider underneath my object. Damage collider. Okay, if damage collider is not null, damage collider dot assign owner this, and we can actually assign last action now, and we can even get that from the projectile itself. So let's say public action data action. Then on the unit controller, let's also get the projectile p game object get component children projectile. I'm just going to have some trust issues and do if p is not null. Then last action used or last action used action, how do we call it? Come on, current action last. Let's see what this is. Get last action stored action equals p dot action, and it will just play automatically. So let's test this out. On our projectile we have an action. Basically the action animation on the projectile, it does nothing. The damage type is what we care for, and of course how much damage we're going to be doing. Then open the prefab. On my hitbox is a trigger. I'm going to tick is projectile because we have a collider that is moving inside our level, even if it's moving with a fixed position. We're actually going to also add a rigid body 2D and set it to kinematic. And you can also, if you are having problems with collisions, just set it to continuous. So let's test this out. And you know what? Instead of this guy following the screen, let's just make him stay on the edge. Let's just make him follow the player. And -1 for target offset. Yeah, target offset is, I'll do 1 + 1. Yeah, and of course we're not yeah, okay, we have to actually do something. So on the damage collider we can also put an event, public unity event on hit. So we can also do an invoke on hit here. Okay, on our projectile or on pretty much everything we can create a new utility functions. utility, that's not how you write utility. Oh, come on. Functions, okay, let's delete all that, namespace, let's just put it under utilities. One. And I'm going to do public void destroy object. Destroy this .game object. Now, of course, if you have something else, and let's open up the prefab so we see it. So let's add the utility functions. Now, if we have an object pooler, we won't destroy it. We can simply just, disable it. So projectile one, utility functions or methods, whatever, destroy object. Now, let's make it from the player. Let's see one thing, however, on my attack time, we're doing what? Attack time, no. On the get position thing. Come on. Forget what it's named. Get random position, get to target position. Okay. If it's from player, plus target offset X. Otherwise, get close to player. Okay. Okay, then let's change his AI action. I basically want him to, instead of stay on the edge. No, let's do stay on the edge. Let's do something like 2. Yeah, you can see that it works. He basically just stays a little bit less than what we wanted to go. Okay, so now he's throwing projectiles. Which is pretty cool. Okay, so that's for projectiles, and that's for an AI that is throwing projectiles. Now, let's say I want to throw a projectile. I'm going to do this dirty and then remove it, just to show you, because I don't actually have any animation for my player for throwing things yet, because we're going to make you be able to throw bodies around. So I'm just going to go to the attack, my attack. Okay, so let's say when you're here on object, projectile one. And voila, just like that, I can basically make a projectile. My player throw a projectile. Okay, let's say I want this to move a little bit. I don't want him to spawn right on the center of this body. Then the simple way to do this will be to go over here and just move this a little bit off center. Okay, so it will spawn a little bit to the side. Now, I'm not going to bother with this since, we need a new sprite for that. But you know the idea. So let's clean up the animation event, just so that we don't spawn this. And right away, we just have something to work with. Let's move the camera manager a little bit to the left. And yeah, I'm actually going to rework the camera a little bit, so we'll see. So that's it for now. As always, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, and if you like to see more stuff, more videos, more series, more of everything from this, then of course consider supporting me on Patreon so we can keep making all of these nice things we're making. I'll see you next time.